Howdy, 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 and thank you all for joining us tonight. Tonight is a very special night for me. It's one I've been looking forward to for quite a while now. I'm over the moon, folks. I am so happy about this one tonight. Um, but before we get rolling, you know how it is. It's Sunday night, and on Sunday nights we start things off with the proper person to begin things for us. Some say he was the inspiration for the song. Let's see, what was that song? Living on a Prayer. I believe that was a song he is said to be the inspiration on, and we'll see just how it is. So everybody, welcome our good friend Clearwater Chad. Hi,
Hey,
Chad.
hey, Poe. Thank you very much. Great to be here.
You got a weather report for us?
Absolutely, Poe.
There we go.
78 degrees in Clearwater, Buffalo. 0% precip. The wind is at 9, Poe. And Roscoe advises is 67% humid.
I bet he is. He's a little bit under the weather today. He went and got his shot, so he's been sleeping most of the day today. He had to get all of his updates on his shots and everything. So how are things been with Clearwater, Chad?
Oh, bit busy, but everything's great, Poe.
Yeah, it's same here. I got the busted chicken wing going, so I'm trying to live with that. It's not easy when you can't do too much with it. Want to make sure we're saying howdy to everybody that's here tonight. I saw Mona Englert and Mischief Manage, who believed she had beaten Chad to hitting the like button. But we know how that goes. Nobody beats Clearwater Chad. Lisa Robinson, Scooter Mom. Let's see, Cinderly, Denise H. And Denise, I'm glad you made it to a live, and that's awesome that you're stoked to see Daniel tonight. Vanessa LaRose, one of my girls. How we doing tonight, Vanessa? Anaphylaxis, Joe Gerst. Let's see here. Oh, Fat Grammy's here. Our dear friend Mona. Perth Scientology Audits in the house. Grand Theft Hoopty, Susie Q, and Nebulous. Hey, what's going on? Lizzie the White Witch, Sen K, my buddy Dave from Gotta Love Thailand. Everybody make sure you say howdy to Dave. Righty, folks. So, like I said, this tonight's guest is someone I've been wanting to talk to for quite a while. When I met his brother, Jamie, Jamie has turned into a good friend, and he's someone that I always enjoy talking to. He's one of those that I bring on sparingly because it's a pretty big thing when we get Jamie Mustard on here. But I've been trying to get in touch with his brother Daniel for a while. We'd hit once or twice on Facebook messaging, and it's one of those things I'd really been wanting to get him on here. I've heard him singing, and I'm just a fan of his music. I think he's a great guy, has some wonderful music, and I think that he's someone that needs to be celebrated. Everybody needs to know who he is. So without further ado, let's please welcome Daniel Mustard. How we doing, sir?
Oh, intros are always so funny. Hi.
Howdy.
Hello, John.
How are we doing tonight?
How you doing? I'm good.
Good.
I'm always weird about these things, but yeah, I'm doing
it. Don't worry about it. Like I said, it's just like with Jamie. This is a conversation just between friends.
And a few other people watching.
We'll see if I can go 2 for 2 and making Mustard Brothers cry.
We're gonna make Mustards cry. I'm a cry. I cry, man. You know that.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
There's I can't remember what they're called. The Cure. There's a band called The Cure. A song called "Boys Don't Cry," and I sing that song as a boy who does.
I've got a song I want to hear you do.
Which what?
It's called Rainbow Connection.
Oh, the kids song from
that was a song from my youth.
Yeah, I remember it.
About brings me to tears every time I hear it, because it takes me back to the time going to see the Muppet movie live in the theaters, and it just holds such a special place. It doesn't have to be a child's song. Anybody can connect.
No, that's actually kind of cool. I have a thing for Jim Henson because he's kind of underrated, because most of what he did was for children, but he was, I think, a genius in his and his artistry and so on and so forth. Yeah. And he wrote that song, I'm pretty sure.
What's his name? Paul Williams wrote it.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. And he wrote it.
He did write some of the Muppet music, though.
That'll tell you how much of a fan I am of the song. Is I went back and backtracked and looked and see about the making of it, Paul Williams talking about they had been asked to do a song to start off the Muppet movie.
Right.
And he was trying to think about something that was just different from anything anybody had done with it, and something that would just touch you in the heart. And that's when he came up with Rainbow Connection.
That's so funny. I sing about rainbows too. I have a song called Constellation Rainbow.
Yeah, there's
so that would actually probably work. That would probably fit right up my alley.
there you go. Well, that, and have you ever heard the song from Alice in Chains, Black Gives Way to Blue?
I don't know that. I know Alice in Chains, Lane and Lane Staley, but I don't know that song.
Well, when,
I know Man in a Box and Rooster and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, when Lane passed away, Jerry Cantrell and the other members came together and they wrote the song Black Gives Way to Blue, and a lot of people were really confused about it. And then the way he defined it was, in the morning before the sun comes up, it's black, and as the sun comes up, the refreshment of the sun, the new day comes, and the black gives way to the blue sky. And that was his tribute song to Lane. And it's a really good song. So if you get a chance, check that one out.
I will. All our heroes are dead or dying. Chris Cornell's gone. Kurt went a long time ago. Shannon Hoon, they're all dead.
Well,
Somebody should put a wall up around Eddie Vedder.
Oh yeah. Well,
they should know what happened.
Well, they say the brightest flames burn the quickest. So that's the thing, is that, you have guys like that. They're on a different level than any of us. And that's, they live hard, they live fast, and they're gone. And that's why they become legends. I mean, I don't really think a lot of them would like to live on and be one of those folks spending their 50s, 60s, and 70s playing Vegas nightly. So,
well, I don't know. I mean, the fact of the matter is, you don't have to keep doing it if you don't want to. Some people just stop when it starts to get crazy. Some people just walk away. Bill Withers walked away.
Yeah,
Cat Stevens walked away. A lot of people just go, and that's what Courtney Love. Not for nothing. That's what Courtney Love was going on about for a while. There was just stop, Kurt. If you don't want to keep doing it, just stop doing it. He made plenty of money. He didn't really need to keep doing it.
And look at Meatloaf. He walked away for how many years, and then he finally came back, and but he took that time away because he wanted to be with his family. He didn't want to be on the stage, didn't want to be on the road, and he'd made enough money that he could live comfortably with his family, raise his kids, and when he came back, he was even bigger than he'd ever been. So
yeah. Well, then and Fight Club did a lot for him.
Yeah.
Nobody, I don't think many people remembered him, and then he was so good in that you just couldn't help it.
Well, he was a good actor. For me, Rocky Horror is my favorite. Of his, so, I'm a huge fan of Rocky Horror.
Yeah, me too. That's great. Oh, that's right.
It made me so happy when the kids turned 18 and I could take them to here they have a group that's the Rocky Horror Preservation Society. So every end of September all the way to midway through November, they do live sing-alongs with the movies.
It's just a jump to the left.
Oh yeah. We're there throwing the toast. We got the squirt guns and all that. So it's a great thing. We love that, and being able to introduce my children to that and let them, see a part of their dad's life, and the things.
Well, that's the trip. When me and my friends, we had got a group together. We were going to go see it when I was a teenager, and we got the Scientology moms pulled it. There was a woman in the building who is actually, her son is Beck Hansen's nephew or cousin or something. She's related somehow. Anyway, apparently when she was a teenager, she went to see that movie, and the boy that she had a crush on took that opportunity to come out to her. And so she had decided that movie makes people gay. And so we weren't allowed to go see it. We were banned. We were like barred from it, but some of us went anyway.
When folks say things like that, I just don't know where they get the mentality that a movie's going to turn you gay.
Usually people who have those sort of thoughts are repressing something. They have their own thing and they don't want to acknowledge that other people might have something going on. And they think that if they keep their children ignorant of the existence of anything unusual, out of the ordinary, never mind it being gay, just anything not what they're used to, they think that somehow it'll all just go away. but it doesn't.
And see, I was that that rebellious teen when I was in high school. While everybody was hanging out down, I grew up in an area that was very rural, very farm community, and all that. So
Whereabouts?
I was born in Kentucky and raised between Kentucky and southwestern Ohio, city of Middletown, Ohio. And,
my mother's from that Kentucky, Ohio kind of area.
Oh, okay.
Too. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. But the thing was, they were all going down to the Burger King. Everybody just sat for hours driving around the Burger King, and it was the most boring stuff you ever saw. Somebody said to me, "Hey, have you ever go down to Cincinnati, down in the College District there?" Oh my gosh, I started going down there and hanging out on the weekends. And so I'm in there with the college crowd. I was big guy, 6'2", over 300 pounds back then, football player. And so I fit right in with all the.
We love a football player at Rocky. You get to play Rocky. we always need at least one jock to play Rocky.
I just lost it. It's the doorman that's my favorite.
Riff Raff.
Riff Raff. There you go.
Riff Raff. Yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy that wrote the music for the show.
Yeah,
O'Brien.
That scene in the opening song over at the Frankenstein place where he does that cut in. That just that part just kills me. I love that part so much.
It's a great movie, and it's such a funny thing the way it just keeps going, like the Grateful Dead or something.
It's like the Grateful Dead. It just has such a following. People aren't going to just walk away from it. So it's an amazing thing. So tell us, who is Daniel Mustard?
Oh, I have no idea.
You should have found yourself by now.
I've heard of this. No, I've heard of this guy, but I don't know too much about him. Jamie keeps saying you have to master your own story if you're going to master your life or something. And I don't think I've mastered my own story.
I don't think we do by the time we're gone.
Yeah, I suppose everybody spends a lifetime trying to do that.
Yeah.
I have been, who is Daniel Mustard? What an open-ended question. I don't know how to begin that, John. You tell me. What do you think? What is your impression?
How dissimilar was your upbringing to Jamie's?
Well, let's see. We were both born into the Sea Org.
Okay.
And there was a moment there where they had, they were having trouble with what to do with children, and they went back and forth on this a couple of times, and everybody was booted out. He talks a little bit about, like, they went to Portland for a little while. I think that was when this time was. And so that was when my mom got kicked out, but his mother went back.
Okay.
As I understand it. My mother didn't go back, but she didn't go very far. She went just right across the street. And she ran this building called the Shangri-La across the street from Celebrity Center International. And my father was the manager of the hotel that was also in the building of Celebrity Center International. So what was the question?
How dissimilar was your
well, no, I was spared the indignities of what was referred to as the cadet org, which wasn't really a thing. It was just sort of a holding pen for children. I remember my mother always trying to sell me on it, like it was going to be such a great you love it. It's so funny to me to hear Jamie and other people talk about how miserable it was and how sweet and nostalgic she was. Or even the building on Melrose. There's a place on Melrose where everybody lived for a little while in the 70s. And every time we drive past there, we used to live there. Oh, we used to live there. She thought it was so cute and charming. And apparently that place was a death trap.
Wow.
So it's I did not, that was my rebellion, I suppose, even though it was expected that I would join the Sea Org and just be a, good soldier like everybody else. I did not want to be a soldier. I didn't like auditing. I didn't like going on course. I felt really condescended by the whole process. And see, my mother had also filled my head with kind of like these ideas that I was a reincarnated Scientologist. And so and she, this is the fucked up part of the story. She had as far as she knows, as far as she was concerned, a dialogue with me as a disembodied spirit before I was born.
Oh, wow.
And that I more or less instructed her to have me so that I could have a body. And so this was her out. Like, it was never her responsibility, right? Nothing was ever her responsibility. It was always my fault. But even I couldn't even say I wish I'd never been born, you know, that way that kids do sometimes. I couldn't even say that because according to her, I did. In fact, I insisted. So even though I didn't join up the way I was supposed to, I still felt very much a conviction to the thing. You know, there's this sort of idea of true believerism, and I certainly suffer from that. I don't know what else to say other than, you know, the head trips, all those head trips that you suffer through. Like it's all part of the community. It's not just in the Sea Org.
Right.
And something like I was talking about the notion of unconditional love, like this idea that your parents are supposed to love you unconditionally, and none of them did. None of us have healthy relationships with our parents. You understand that, right?
Right.
We literally had to do conditions, something called conditions, like when you were in trouble. Like the notion, I remember the first time I heard the phrase unconditional love, I actually thought, what the fuck is that? Like, I really didn't understand what that was.
Right.
So there's a lot of neglect, like he talks about, like nobody was paying attention, nobody cared. And then as a lot of the Sea Org members, ex-Sea Org members will talk about how much they looked down on us for being grungy kids that nobody was taking care of and nobody cared about.
Wow. As
As though we were supposed to be responsible at 5, 6, 7, and 8 or whatever it was to, you know, figure out how to take care of ourselves. And we were, it was like that. We were supposed to take care of ourselves. We were billion-year-old souls trapped in a stupid body, and you're just faking it. If you can't do it, you're pretending, you're mocking it up, you're bullshit. And that was the end of the conversation. There's no reprise. There's no,
wow.
you know, there's no forgiveness for children in Scientology.
So, so basically, by the time you were born, they were pretty much trying to figure out what they were going to do with these kids. And so, how long did you stay with your mom before, or did you stay with her the full time and then move over?
No. She left the Sea Org. She had to leave the Sea Org. She was fitness board. They call it FB. She was fitness board out of the Sea Org, and then there's the whole issue of the freeloaders debt, and then they charge you for all the services that they gave you for free while you were in the Sea Org. And so it was just this sort of like horribly unnecessarily impoverished lifestyle where my mother was working her ass off all the time to pay those people. And beyond her freeloader debt and services she was getting throughout the years, she also was saving up money for her IS event, her IS pin, her IS membership thing. So like, I have, you know, it sucks to say it, but like usually if parents are working a lot and they're not in the home, at least there's stuff. But we didn't have either. There was no money coming in because she was giving it all to them. Plus, she was never around because she was working her ass off. And my sisters are still mad at me because they think she was working her ass off for my sake. And it wasn't about me. It was about the fucking Church of Scientology.
Now, see, I didn't even know that there were even sisters involved. I knew about Jamie and I knew about you, but I hadn't even heard.
It's a Brady Bunch. That's okay. Let's go back. Wow. Okay, so John and Roz, they begat Josh and Jamie.
Okay.
All right. So my mother, her first marriage, she married a general's son, and they had 3 daughters, my half sisters. Okay. And then I'm 10 years after that. So they're all 14, 12, 10, 8, and 6 years older than me. I'm the only child of both of my parents.
Okay.
And then there's also Jono, who is Roz's then another son after my father, after Jamie and Josh and my father. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's a blended family, I guess they'd call that. But we're not very family. You know, it's not really much of a family. You know, the most family I ever had was homeless people in the park. It was not those people. I mean, I'm, you know, trying now with Jamie in particular. You know, we have a relationship now, but we didn't really growing up.
And that's good. I mean, you and Jamie, because someone made the comment that, where is it? Stasha Flone says, I can't believe how much he and Jamie sound alike. It's uncanny. Because you guys really do sound a lot alike.
There's this thing, right? Like street, straight, strict. You hear that? He does that too.
So.
I think it's hilarious.
So how deep into
Carolyn,
it did you get?
Carolyn was my father's 4th wife at Granny. That Granny, who I see a lot. So I feel like I want to answer that. Carolyn was John's 4th wife. Her son I think his name is Ronan, but I'm not certain. I think she has 2 sons, but I only ever met one of them. I didn't really know Carolyn well, except to watch my father die with her.
Wow.
We had that experience together. And the only other thing I know about her, she went to high school with Marion Faithfull. And she's proud of that, which is cool, actually. Doesn't matter. Anyway, yes, Carolyn is part of the mix.
Wow.
The mustards.
So how long were you involved with Scientology before you broke free?
It's a prison of belief. And I don't think that I really even understood there was something to break free from until I was in like recovery from alcohol, coming off the streets and in recovery in AA, in those rooms and having those conversations, this stuff started to make more sense. And really, it's not until even more now recently hearing all this kind of like this inside information that I didn't really know about as far as like what it means to be in the machine, the way some of these people were.
Oh, okay.
I was just simply effect of the machine. I was outside the machine, totally believing in the machine, rebelling against it, not wanting to participate in the machine, feeling like there was something wrong with it, but still very much believing in the theology, certainly L. Ron Hubbard. And for a long time, I just carried this sort of notion that David Miscavige had fucked it up. David Miscavige fucked it up. David Miscavige fucked it up. And he used to come to our doctor's office. So he is not a pleasant man in any respect. And it certainly made sense to me. And then Alex Gibney's documentary seemed to kind of go in that direction as well. But that's not really the case. I think that L. Ron Hubbard was just a crazy person and kind of inducing his own psychoses and others.
Yeah, from everything that I see, not only was he a narcissist, I consider him a sociopath. He, we know he's one of the greatest liars of all time, and he's just, he's something else. He's the things that he did and the way he was able to get people to believe what he was saying is, I just can't believe it. But that's the sign of a good cult leader, is that you're able to suck people in.
Yeah, it's a cult. It's a cult of personality. So people believed in him. I believed in him. My mother believed in him. My father believed in him. I don't know beyond that, really, but it was the time of the time in the 60s and the boomers and the hippies and all that, and civil rights was happening. All the world was upheaving, and people were looking for anything. People were kind of desperate, I think, for new ways of thinking and living. And, you see a lot of crazy shit come out of that period of time. And L. Ron Hubbard's just one of them, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
We're all lucky we didn't end up in Jonestown.
Yeah, there you go. My goodness.
For real.
A lot of people ask, well, how do people get sucked into things and all that? And I think that a lot of people, with the scandals that have gone on through so many of the different religious beliefs, that people are looking for some kind of spiritual guidance. And that's how they end up where they're at with these things. It's not, I don't think it's a matter. Everybody thinks, oh, they're stupid for no, people get lost and they're looking for,
like that's how they recruit you. There's this whole idea of your ruin. They find your ruin and then they promise they can fix it. And so, what they're looking for is people who are like not truly damaged. They don't really want actually damaged people because they can't actually fix anything. They want people who are just going through a hard time and think it's permanent. And then they can go, don't worry, we can fix that for you. I don't know how to put it because I was not seduced. I was not, I was born into this stupid thing. But so I don't know where how people are convinced of this, but they are tricked. It is a very active, manipulative. It's a religion of coercion. It's not.
Well, they get tricked in the exact way that you came out was you realized that going through different with the with either whether it was AA or whatever course you were using to get yourself broken from the alcoholism, is that's how people become so disenfranchised from their religious beliefs, and then they try to find something that gives them that spiritual center they've been looking for, and that's exactly how they get sucked into things.
To fill the God-sized hole.
Yep. And that's
that's how a lot of people recruit. That's how incels are recruited, and all sorts of crazy things happen.
Yeah.
It's
the difference,
sad, lonely people.
The difference is back in the day, 60s, 70s, 80s, even back in the 50s, you didn't have the internet, you didn't have social media, you didn't have a way of knowing that you were actually joining a cult. Nowadays, somebody says, "Hey, check this out." You go online and look it up and go, "Holy crap, what am I getting into?" But back then, you had no idea till you're knee deep in it. So,
and even then, I grew up around, there's these different factions, right? Of like staff and Sea Org and public, and there's
Right.
rich public who are treated a certain way, and then there's poor
Oh, yeah.
public who are treated in a very different way. So the people that I grew up around were poor public. And those people love the nefarious stuff. They love the connections to Charles Manson and Aleister Crowley and all the weird supposed occult witchcraft involved. They thought that was the best part.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Aaron Levin Smith jokes that Scientology, if they were smart, would lead with all the crazy shit. That there are a lot of people that would love the Xenu story. They would love it. Just give me the Xenu stuff right up front rather than
my
this
gosh.
sort of dangly bullshit.
Think about how many people would come running to join if they just told them about the Charles Manson connection.
Oh yeah,
My
a lot of people
goodness.
love that.
That's
There's a science fiction aspect to the Mormon theology too. They get promised a planet or some shit.
yeah. You
So,
get the godlike ascendance there, and make sure you say howdy to our girl Vanessa.
Hey Vanessa!
No, I didn't even realize it till I was looking through her collection of lives that she had done, that she'd already done a catch up with Mustard. And
Yeah, that's my. We've been talking a lot, her and I. I don't know. I can kind of feel like I just want to keep doing this as much as I can. I got shit to talk about.
You're welcome anytime you want to come on here. All right, you got an invitation here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Of course.
And it's I just find it the
Hi, Peggy X.
The interesting thing is that your story is very similar, but it's also unique in its own way. And there are so many people that it's like talking to my mother, who has been a lifelong devout Christian. She says, well, how do these people, how can they live like that, and how can they not know? And I said, Mom, you raised me a Christian. All right. That's what I grew up. That's where my beliefs, my foundations, everything came from. If you had been Buddhist, then everything would be about Buddhism. Had you been Muslim, then it would be all about Islam.
And that statistically is usually how it works. You adopt the faith of your parents.
Absolutely. And it's let's see. Help you. Okay. Okay.
No, of course not. The church doesn't help anybody. They shame you when you leave. If you leave, no, they don't help you. They think they've already done all the help they can do or something.
And Amber Vanasse?
Yeah, Amber Vanassi. Everybody keeps saying her name wrong.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
No, it's everybody. Everybody said her name wrong.
The thing is that there are so many people, and Chad can tell you, there's someone who jumps in chat from time to time, has been a part of the community. Tampa B Man is a woman.
Yep.
There's a lot of people, we don't have pictures of who they are. We don't know who they are.
No, that's fine.
And then we find out, you're
welcome, Amber.
I've been calling you dude and bro and stuff like that.
I don't mind. People call me that. Red. I get red a lot.
There you go.
Guys do that all the time because nobody ever remembers anybody's name. And so we get into just calling each other buddy and dude and whatever. I don't care. I don't care. People forget names. People remember my name. So I don't have, I don't have to.
And it's like mine, I get called John Doe, Joe Pope, John Pope, but for some reason they all remember at least part of it. So, it's how it is. Either a name is very forgettable or you never forget it. So that's one of the things here. I'm just checking all these comments and everything. And you've been doing weekly lives with Vanessa. That's awesome. I'll have to, next one's on Tuesday. Awesome.
I'll check it out.
Dude is not gender specific. What does that mean?
Well, it depends, because it could be like dude.
Right. The word dude. No, dude is one of those. Dude.
Yeah.
Dude can mean a million things. Oh yeah. Dude's a great word.
Yeah. But I've been using it in the male particular.
Yeah. I call women dude all the time.
And then I finally meet Tampa B Man down in Florida, and I'm like, why didn't you ever say anything to me?
Tampa B Man was a woman. Does it matter? Does it matter, John, if Tampa B Man is a woman, a man?
Well, I would prefer not to call someone by the wrong gender or the wrong pronoun. You know?
Oh, Lord.
You
My
know,
pronouns are whatever. I don't care.
And that's the thing. I personally don't care, but I'm very big about, I don't like offending people if there's no reason for it. Because I try to keep an even keel with people. I believe that what you throw out gets brought back to you eventually. So that's why I try to be respectful. I'm open-minded. I listen to what people have to say, and I'm always curious to find out about people in their lives. So,
Poe is a classy guy.
I wouldn't call me that.
I was
hillbilly.
I was saying to Vanessa, you seem like a real grown-up in the best kind of way. And she really caught on that, because that was the problem with our childhoods. There were no grown-ups. Even the adults acted like children, behaved like selfish little children. And you see that now in the SPTV, in the ex-Scientology community, some of the grown-ups still acting like children.
And I have people, because there's so many that I know in the community, and people are like, wow, I can't believe this person acted like this or this person did that. And I'm like, wait a minute, this person never had a childhood. They never had a teenage life. They were expected to be adults from day one forward. So if they're finally just catching up with the things that they had missed during that time, give them a break. Plus,
I'm sorry, go ahead. No, yeah, I will say that again. Please give us all a break. We're fucked up people. Like somebody was complaining. Mitch Brisker, he's complaining about the youngins throwing their daddy issues at him, and I'm like, yeah, Mitch, people are going to throw their daddy issues at you, because you know what? We all got fucking daddy issues.
Yeah.
We most likely didn't fucking know our fathers, and L. Ron Hubbard was the father figure.
Dude,
adopted.
I was raised in the nuclear family. And I had a father that was a Vietnam vet who was completely messed up from Vietnam, who had all this pent-up rage that he took out on me for the majority of my life as a child. We all got daddy issues. It don't matter if you were in a cult or not. There's a lot of them out there that have been a real problem.
Yeah.
So,
our whole generation was kind of fatherless in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, I mean, think about it. Vietnam vet, former Green Beret in Vietnam, goes on to become a police officer, and has a son that I love art. I love creativity. I love all those things. I don't, I'm never was one of those that you got to toe the line 100% kind of people. You got to be, I was the one who was wearing the crazy stuff to school, the knee-high tanker boots with the Vietnam olive drab pants and the Susie and the Banshees t-shirts.
It's like trench coat mafia kind of stuff there, John.
Oh, not that kind, no. But I was, they nowadays they call, I was almost like what they would call a goth or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
That I was, that was the thing. But everybody, they just thought I was crazy.
You had Docs, you had Doc Martens. You remember? I remember when I got my first Doc Martens. That was seminal.
I always liked to, take me to the Army surplus place.
Yeah,
the Navy surplus. That's where I'll get my stuff.
Or Dickies was good too. This is a Dickies shirt, I think.
But that was the thing. I was never really big into what was popular or the in thing. Back then everybody had their collars flipped up and all that stuff, and
my sister used to always try to do that to me, and
no.
She thought it was cool. I did not.
Yeah, and nasty. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, my dad was one of those that I think that there were so many things in life that he wanted to do that he never got a chance to do. And so he decided to take out his anger and frustration on me. So I've got the scars to prove it. So, that's one of the things with my kids. They'll never see that side from me. I'll never be that way. My kids have grown up knowing they could tell me anything in the world they want. I'm here to listen. Lord, as a police sergeant, I took my daughter to her first Pride event in Ferndale, Michigan, when she was 16 years old.
That's going to make me cry, John.
Well, I mean, my kids are, one of the things that I believe is part of immortality is your children, your family, your generations that you bring forth. And for me, my children should never know fear of me. They should know that I'm there. I will lay my life down for them in a heartbeat. I'll kill for them if I have to, but they should never have to fear me. But I'm not their friend. I'm their father. I'm there to guide them, be that safe space for them, and be that person who's always going to look out for their interest above anything else. And that's what's always been important to me.
And you know what's amazing to me about that, John, is you just said that very matter of factly. That's just the job, right?
That's who
and
I
that
am.
Right, and that makes sense to you, and that's what was missing from all of our lives.
Yeah.
None of those parents. I mean, we're rare exception. There's a couple of people who are probably actually really parents, but it's insane to me. And somebody here just commented, like, that's the trick, is to tell narcissists who hate children it's okay to be narcissists who hate children.
Yeah.
You know, some people just shouldn't have children.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that 100%.
Not everybody needs to be a parent.
Well, I mean, it's like when people ask me, they're like, you know, you want to go grab a drink? I don't drink alcohol. And they're like, what do you mean? I go, well, after my children were born, I stopped any use of alcohol. And they're like, why? And I said, because my children will never see their father intoxicated. They should always look to me as someone, like I said, someone who is a safe space, a protector, and someone who's a guide to them. And if they see me drunk or out of control, that's something I never want my children to see, even as adults. So
that's beautiful, John.
Thank you. That's to me, that's very important. You know, I want my children to be as level and open and accepting and understanding as possible. And if I can't show that to them, how are they going to learn it?
Thank you. That's beautiful. I wish, you know, where were you when I was growing up, John? Can I throw some daddy issues at you now?
Yeah. But, you know, I had a great mom who, you know, even though, you know, she's very devout Christian, probably one of the strongest women I've ever known in my life, but she was very understanding, very open, very receptive, and she allowed me to be me. As a matter of fact, she didn't allow it. She enforced, you be you, you be who you are. So that is very important.
You know, that's one of the things that really is a head trip about the Scientology thing, is that there is this idea that you're supposed, because there used to be a kind of a hippie thing in it. That's gone. That was gone. But there was this notion of be yourself, but at the same time, but within this list of very particular rules about how you're supposed to behave.
Yeah.
Right. It was be yourself, but not that. Not that. So yeah, there was lip service to that, but it wasn't a real thing. You know, you were constantly, for me anyway, I was constantly in trouble for being who I was.
Yeah. Well, you know, and looking back, Mona Fat Grammy, she's got some really interesting OSA documents from the day. And just looking back at some of the people, and we're going to be doing some lives about some of them. Some of those folks, like you, were a major thorn in the side of Scientology. And, you know, some of them literally had OSA running around in circles trying to get these people under control. But I love that. I think it's amazing. That's how
I would love to know. I would love to know, because I swear, like, you know, growing up in the Shangri-La's across from CC, I felt like I was constantly being watched and monitored and harassed. They were always trying to kick me out of there. They're always trying to, like, I was such a troublemaker. I even think, like, when my father became the manager of the Manor Hotel, I was like, did they do that because they're trying to get to me? Like, I don't know, like, how that happened, but it seemed all very shady and suspicious. And of course, when you grow up in an environment like that,
well, you question everything. You question everybody's motive.
And it's a real interesting conversation to have with mental health professionals, where you have to convince them that your paranoia isn't actually paranoid. It's actually legitimate.
You know, the crazy thing is that I believe in the mental health profession. I believe in counseling and those kinds of things. I just don't want them around me, because every psychiatrist I've ever dealt with, and that's through doing the background checks for law enforcement, going through those things for law enforcement, every one of them I met were more messed up in the head than I was. So I'm like, I don't want these people in my head if they can't get theirs right.
Generally speaking, I think that's kind of the thing, is that the people who become shrinks are people who are trying to fix themselves.
Yeah.
Right. I think L. Ron Hubbard was trying to fix himself.
I don't know what was, but I think Genchi says it right. Genchi says, heck yeah, I was pre-goth in the 80s, the alternative kids, the weirdos. We owned it. Lifelong nonconformist. That was me.
Wait. Yeah, okay, I missed that. It's funny to think of a nonconformist because I guess I was a nonconformist, but I didn't really know what like to nonconform to the norm, and I don't really think I knew what the norm was. If that makes sense, like
Oh, yeah.
I was much more of a nonconformist than I thought I was. If that makes sense,
nothing
and
wrong
probably
with that.
still.
I think that's beautiful. I think that's important. Let's see here. Nissa, what
I
makes
love that.
Scientology think the truth was never going to come out? And they also make claims that all protest footage are doctored. I mean, they say that about everything nowadays.
It's a closed
Scientology.
community, that when
Yeah.
you're in there, you're not supposed to look on the internet. You're not supposed to have these conversations, and you are literally trained. Like you're trained to disassociate. You know what that means when you disassociate? It's a thing you do when you're abused as a child. You zone out so you don't have to experience the pain of struggle or whatever it is. But you're trained to do this. Anytime anybody says anything that's turbulating or anti whatever, you zone out and you go, okay, I didn't hear that, and you waddle away like a crazy person.
Oh.
That's what they train you to do.
Yeah.
I know. Wow.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Chad.
Oh,
You've
yeah.
been talking so much, huh?
That I've watched. I've never heard that.
Yeah, it's you know
Which part? The can't they don't listen, they won't hear you. If you when you go to a Scientologist and you say this is a cult, they're messing with you, they literally zone out. They click off. They're not hearing you.
think about it when your best friend there, Chad, when Grant Cardone was on the Paul brothers podcast, and they asked him about Xenu and how he shut that down so quickly.
Oh, he did.
That's the thing, is that they're going to they have their beliefs, they know what the truth is, but they also they keep that stuff close to chest. They're not going to put it out there and let people actually know what's going on.
They don't even let us know what's going on. Never mind anybody outside. Like we barely even know what's going on the inside.
Yeah. And that's
and the whole the levels, it's all paywall. You got to work, and then the end of it isn't even there. So
now, did you ever go through? Now, how far did you get in? Did you make it to clear?
I was supposed to attest to clear as a child.
Okay.
I hated auditing though, so I kind of rebelled against that real early.
Okay.
But I went back to it. I had a whole bunch of auditing as an adolescent. And what was the question now? I've forgotten already. Oh, I never attested to clear. No.
Right.
And all that is that you recognize that you're making up some of your own drama. That's really all it is. It's not all of it, but he says it's everything. It's everything. But I don't think it's everything. But it's somewhat true. We do kind of make up our own drama sometimes. And what was the other thing I would say? This is the auditing, and there's the grades, and there was this whole argument really about how much of a Scientologist you were, depending on where you were on the levels and all this kind of stuff. And this is the thing I used to really argue with and get very angry with, because as far as I was concerned, I was just as much Scientologist as anybody else. I just didn't go for the bullshit. But I believed in the theology. I didn't believe in the bridge necessarily. It wasn't about the bridge. It was about a theology. It was about what this man was talking about in the books and the tapes and where I got it from.
Now, have you ever seen Farrell Cheryl, who comes on quite often with me?
I have seen her. Yes.
Her father was very deep into Scientology, and he left. And I found out that there's a whole community of independents who believe in the tech. They believe in the theology of Scientology.
Right.
They just don't believe in David Miscavige, and they think that Miscavige has perverted Scientology. Right. And so I was amazed at how deeply so many ex-Scientologists still believe in it, still practice the auditing, things like that. I mean, Lord, you've got Jeffrey Augustine and his wife, Karen Della Carriere. She was a level 12 auditor. As a matter of fact, as far as I know, she's the only one who's still left that was level 12.
My mother was part of a whole generation of women who were all going to be professional auditors. That was the deal. That was in the 80s and 90s, all these women were particularly like today it would be real estate agents. But back then they were all going to be professional auditors. And the notion that very soon there was a tipping point where a certain percentage of the population is converted, and then everything is just going to suddenly happen all of a sudden. And so there was this urgency to train as many auditors as possible so that we get the whole planet clear.
It's the fastest growing religion in the world, didn't you know?
Oh, yes, I heard. Oh,
I think they've got something like 38 billion members now.
I remember the first time I said that to somebody, and they said, yeah, it's really easy to recruit people when they're starving and you give them a sandwich. Like that was the thing, because at the time it was the fastest growing religion in like India and places where, you know, developing countries.
Absolutely amazing.
Whatever, it's all lies, it's all smoke and mirrors, it's all just fucking the Wizard of Oz, man.
That's how many of these cults are. It never look behind the curtain, and you'll be happy as long as you don't know the truth. And I think that's very, you know, that's something that, you know, that's the litmus test that I think a lot of people should look at when they're looking into something like Scientology or some of these other groups that are popping up and they want to be part of. Look at the litmus test. What can you find out about them? What do they believe in? And what kind of religion makes you pay for every step of the way to make your way into the religion? Those are all very important things. What will they expect of you? Yeah. Will they expect you to sell everything and move into a commune and practice yoga 12 hours a day? What is it all about? And I think that so many people are just so misguided, and they're looking so hard for that it factor, and they get snatched up so quickly if they just take the time to look into things.
John, how did you get involved in Scientology? Because you weren't a Scientologist, right?
Mine's pretty crazy. I was a teenager and I saw the volcano videos for Dianetics, and I was like, ooh, this looks pretty cool. I did a lot of sci-fi, a lot of fantasy reading, just couldn't get enough books. And I saw that there was no way my mom was going to buy it for me, because being a devout Christian, there was no way she was buying me a book about some different religion. So I saved up the money. I snuck and got it myself. I started reading it. I got a few chapters into it. I'm like, what is this? This is a self-help book.
Yeah.
And threw it in a pile and never looked at it again. Well, years later, I saw Going Clear, and then I saw Leah Remini's Scientology in the Aftermath. Then I followed the podcast, and got sucked into the rabbit hole of YouTube and the anti-Scientology world. And
so because of Leah in the Aftermath. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Okay. I thought maybe you'd had some like professional dealings.
No, one day I'm watching this crazy guy out of Clearwater, Florida, named Aaron Smith Levin, and he says, "Is anybody out there with a police, experience that can help me answer some questions?" I went on and did a live with him, and it's got over 100,000 views on that live. And next thing you know, my channel went from 178 subscribers to well over 1,000 in a week's time, and it's just been growing pretty steadily. And
just from talking about this mayhem, and it's so weird to me that people are interested. It's so weird to me. There's a designation of never ends.
Oh yeah,
like that is so bizarre to me that there's people like who have never even been in this thing who are participating and doing stuff. There's some ladies who created a database with AI, so you can reference LRH bullshit when you need to.
Someone's even done a what do they call it?
Like, and they were never Scientologists. Wait, say what?
Somebody's even done something like a Rosetta Stone for Scientology acronyms and Scientology speak, so that you can translate, the different things that are being said. When you're talking to somebody.
Infuriating to me how much of this information I still retain. I'm not kidding. I did a lot of drinking, and there's a lot of shit that I do not remember, and it infuriates me how much these datums still stick in my head, and this lingo and the language, or even when certain words come up in my songs. It used to be more infuriating. Now I'm appreciating a little bit more, but there's certain words that come up every once in a while. I'm like, that's a sign of word. And I gotta be careful.
But you got to remember, you remember Scientology. I know a lot of military and police
acronyms, and
yeah. So
and he borrowed a lot of stuff from the Navy, apparently.
Oh, he did more than borrow. He stole what he could. I mean, he's famous for the fact he sunk that submarine, I'm sorry, log in the middle of nowhere.
Right. No. He was a war hero and a vet, and he was injured and cured himself.
Yeah.
Didn't you hear?
He could cure everything except for them teeth of his, couldn't he?
Oh my God, teeth. I swear he's probably a meth head. That's what he looks like. He looks like a meth head, doesn't he?
Yeah. Them messed up cheaters on that boy. He could eat corn on the cob through a picket fence. Come on now.
So, those teeth.
Oh my God.
And he was, and it's so weird to me how much I liked him as a kid.
But you listen to like Janice Gillum Grady talking about as a teenager being on the boat, and he's sitting there with his glass of brandy or whiskey or whatever it was, telling these fantastic stories about wars off in the galaxies and everything like that. And the way she talks about it, they were so enthralled. This guy pulled people in like a magnet, and people just wanted to be close to him just to feed off his energy. So it's not surprising.
That makes my stomach churn.
Yeah, it does, because now you know the truth. But think about it as a teenager.
And I know it's true. And I knew so many of those people. I knew so many people. I knew a lot of those people who knew him. I never met him or nothing, but I knew people who knew him. I worked for a doctor that was his doctor, in fact.
Wow.
And so it's hard to like. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to imagine who, to square who those people were and who they would have at some point been. I just don't know.
And Mona says, you are a treasure. Just don't light your beard on fire. We are good. Hello.
Please, this thing has been on fire so many times.
So
that's nothing. We'll set all the beards on fire.
At what age did you break free?
Again, like I didn't really understand there was something to break free from for a long time. So like I didn't leave the Sea Org in that way. But it wasn't honestly until I moved across the country, until I moved to New York, that I felt the relief of it.
Right.
And people ask me all the time if I was scared when I was living on the streets in New York City, and I never even considered it because I was just free. I just felt I'm free from this other thing. It was much scarier to me in the long run anyway, and I didn't even really know it.
I think that's something, a lot of people ask about why people don't leave the Sea Org, why people don't leave Scientology, is there's that fear of, if I leave, I have nothing.
Yeah, but see, I already had nothing, I guess that's part of the privilege. Like, I had fallen out with most, there wasn't a lot of people to hang on to at that point when I left.
Right.
And I had worked for Scientology people. I'd worked for 2 different Scientology companies for most of my adult life. And so like I was similarly, most of my friends and my relations and my neighbors and people in my life were all Scientologists. So like when you leave all of that. So I guess I didn't really leave that. It wasn't until, I don't even know how to put this. I mean, like I was in a relationship and we worked there together even, and I got fired from this place called Peter Gillum's. They sell health foods, and CalMag is their signature product. If you've heard of it, it's calcium magnesium. And it's a thing recommended by L. Ron Hubbard.
Oh, okay.
And
I'll get some right now.
This was a Scientology company, and I had trust in that would be a thing that mattered, and it didn't. And there was a real betrayal there. And so that probably started my sort of like, well, maybe these aren't the people. Maybe these aren't my people after all.
Right.
But honestly, I don't think it was until I was living in the park and then in recovery and in recovery from homelessness and all that, and in therapy and all, like actually talking about things and sussing them out and like realizing, somebody actually has to say to you, that wasn't okay. Right.
Right.
And I go, oh, I know, I didn't know that. Or they say things like PTSD at you and you go, what is that? Like I had no idea. And again, I felt like it was all my fault. I felt this overwhelming sense of responsibility. You're responsible for your own condition. That's what they say all the time. Oh, yeah. You are responsible. Mea culpa, mea culpa. And so I never considered that my mother had done anything wrong. I never considered my father. I never considered that any of them had ever done anything wrong. I always took the blame. I always thought it was me. And I just thought, okay, so I'm just a total DB loser. I'll just fucking drop out. What does it matter? Nobody cares anyway.
And that's, so what?
I'm sorry, I still haven't answered your question.
Oh, that's all right. How old were you?
How old was I when that happened? I was almost 30, I guess, when I came to New York, which is like 15, 17, like so. Too many years ago, 16 years ago.
Wow. That's, you know, that's, I think Indigo Twins got a good question there. What was it like to connect with people who weren't in the cult? How did you find building relationships with people once you were away from Scientology? How did that impact your relationship skills?
Still does. I don't really know how to make relationships. I don't know how to trust fully in that way you're supposed to. I'm always suspicious of stuff. Vanessa and I were just talking about this the other day about, you know, she called it a religion of coercive control. Right. And it's that fear of being coerced or manipulated or cajoled all the time. And so like, even in somebody's trying to help you do something for yourself, I still want to go, no, I can't do that. Because you're pushing too hard.
Well, I think that's, you know, like with the teaching of Scientology, that basically you're responsible for everything that happens to you.
Yeah.
I think it builds on the ability to be more of a loner, having that kind of belief system in place, that you don't rely on anyone. It's you.
And they don't want you to. They don't want you to rely on each other. They don't want you getting close. They don't want you talking to each other. You know, that's part of this, the head trip of the Sea Org, is keep everybody so fucking busy. You don't have a moment to lift your head up and go, hey, what's going on? And somebody was talking about how during COVID, a lot of people did leave because during the shutdowns, they couldn't work. And so they actually were like sitting alone in their rooms going, what am I doing here?
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, that's all you had to do. That's all it takes sometimes. It's just the question, what am I doing here?
That's
I didn't know.
So go ahead, Chad.
What was it?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's never came up either in all the streams that we've watched.
Which part? The COVID thing?
Yeah, that people were leaving during COVID because, like you said, they had a chance to breathe and say, "Hey, what am I doing here?" That's all it took.
Yeah, and it's pretty consistent with the stories of people who leave. You know, they just like in rehab. For the first week, you just sleep and eat.
Yeah,
you know, it's just, you know, and then once you have a chance, like, settle in that, you can think about what you're doing and what's going on and what the hell you want to do next, I guess.
So why New York City?
Well, I had a sister who was living upstate at the time. Mm-hmm. And so I came out here originally to stay with, I stayed with her husband.
I hope it's not the Buffalo area.
No, it was a place called Harrison. It's just right upstate.
I'm joking because Chad's from Buffalo.
Oh, Buffalo. Anita Franco's from Buffalo. That's all I know. I went to Buffalo once. I had a relapse in Buffalo, but that's beside the point. That's what Buffalo's good for. What were we talking about? I don't remember what we were talking about.
Why New York City?
Oh, I don't know. Why New York City? Oh, because Kelly was here, and so I moved out here. I don't know. I stayed with her for a little while, and then I moved into the city. I don't know. Once you get to New York City, you don't really know where else you can go.
But it had to be quite a culture shock from the California kind of weather to the New York weather, though.
Oh, the weather is Whoa. It's not the heat, it's the humidity. Yeah. It's an old cliche, but it's true as shit. Like right now, it's not hot at all, but I'm sweating because it's humid.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been, you know, I have spent a great deal of time in Southeast Asia, and man, there's humidity like that here now.
You're in Florida, right?
Michigan.
Oh, you're in Michigan. Oh, I thought you were in Florida for some reason.
No, I spent a lot of my childhood. We had a place down in Florida that I spent a lot of my childhood down there. But no, like I said, Kentucky, then Ohio, and I met my wife, and she was from Michigan. I couldn't find work after I got out of the military, so I was trying to figure out where to go. And she said, "Let's go up to Michigan, give it a try." And next thing you know, a year later, I'm a cop, and that's where we've been since then.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good story. That's a good reason to move somewhere. That's better than most.
You know, and it's done me great. We've had, got two beautiful, wonderful children that I love more than anything in the world. And I've got a wife that is my best friend, and she is an amazing partner. I couldn't ask for better. I had a career where I got to help people. I got to, your brother broke it down in 15 minutes of talking to me what my problems are. But, one of my big things is I'm an over vigilant person. I like looking out for people who can't stand up for themselves. Plus, you got to figure, I got to work with Rosa Parks.
Oh,
And
shit.
that was such an amazing thing. And the weight of it didn't hit me till many years later, just who it was I had been working with.
Yeah,
And,
right. What did you do for Rosa Parks?
I got put into because I'm one of those that I like people. I like talking to people. I like meeting people. I like helping people. And so the chief's like, you know what? Let's put him through the community policing program. So they just sent me to school for community policing, and one of the programs was the outreach program. And Rosa had the community care program that she was working on. We got linked up through another officer and started working with her through
That's
that.
awesome. That's cool. That's a credential. That's worth putting on your resume, certainly.
Well, she's one of those people that, she was a very tiny, frail woman, but there was such a power in her presence, in her word, that those are the kinds of things that to me, that's a feather in the cap for sure. Being able to say that not only did I get to meet her, but I actually worked with her, and I loved every minute that I got to spend with her.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It makes me think of Eartha Kitt. There's this thing about Eartha Kitt standing up to Eisenhower, who was famously well over 6 feet tall, and she was tiny little woman.
Well, one of my former chiefs of police was one of Aretha Franklin's personal bodyguards. That's what he did to Moonlight. Another one, his best friend was his best friend was married to Anita Baker.
Oh, wow, I love Anita Baker.
That's the amazing thing about the Detroit area there's so much musical history period that comes through here. So it was awesome. So
there was a guy who lived in our building in the Shangri-La. He was an ex-Seor guy who was a backup singer for Stevie Wonder. That's about as close as I can line up there.
So when did you find your singing voice?
I don't know how to put, I've been singing since as long as I can remember, but nobody liked it at first. I used to get a lot of who sings that, and I'd be like, well, keep it that way. I used to get a lot of that.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. They get paid for it, you don't.
Yeah, right. My sister used to make fun of me because she could hear me in the shower. She used to make fun of me singing in the shower. People can hear you in the hall. It was very upsetting to her.
We're all shower singers, so they can get over it.
So I didn't know I was a singer, and I'm still not really. Like, I sing, but I don't really know how. But in the park, Washington Square Park, I found myself living amongst a whole community of homeless, drunken musicians. And that's honestly, I think that's where, it really, it was there already. I was already writing songs. I just, I started writing songs already before I came to New York, but I don't think I really found my voice until, it was drunk and didn't give a shit. That's what I needed. I needed to not give a shit.
I think that's why, music falls into the realm of art. It's, I could do a piece of art and no one like it, but to me, it has so much meaning. It's what the artist conceives, what the artist believes and feels. That's what makes it art. So whether or not anybody else enjoys it or not, you're still expressing your art.
Well, yeah.
So,
and it's compulsive.
I think you're pretty good at picking that guitar too. So
I have no faith in my guitar playing, but that's a long story. Because I didn't learn how to do anything. I just was supposed to figure it out. And I actually thought that was right. And so that's what I did. Because presumably that's what Scientologists do. My father just figured out how to play the piano according to my mother, but that's not what really happened. But I believed it. I thought I was just a failure for not sitting down at the piano and playing it like everybody else could.
Right. And what genre of music do you like the most, or do you not have a favorite?
I don't know. You know, I tend to lean towards singers, and so genre doesn't matter as much to me, to be honest, because I'll listen to anything stylistically. I'm interested in songs and singers. You know, songs in particular. There's great songs that you can arrange any way you want, and it's still a great song. You know, you put slide guitar on it, you call it one thing. You put a beat on it, you call it another thing. You put some banjo on it, you call it another thing. But really, it's all about the song.
Right.
I think every once in a while, some like weird little hit comes along that's stylistically out of the norm, but it's the song that people cling to, and the executive people don't understand that. So then they follow that hit with like a bunch of copycat sounding music, but it's not the song. The song is what people hooked into. It's not necessarily the style necessarily.
Right.
People mostly, I think, just want something to dance to.
Yeah, and I mean, and I agree with you 100% on that. I go from listening to Five Finger Death Punch to Superstitious to some Ray Charles to listening to, you know, the most insane metal that there is, then turn right around and listen to Luke Combs or Johnny Cash. You know,
Johnny Cash, a classic. I tend to like a lot of older stuff. You know, I grew up on a lot of like, you know, the Beatles in my house was like music. I was obsessed as a child with the Beatles, and Zeppelin was big. It's Los Angeles. Like the classic rock station in Los Angeles is like Zeppelin station.
Right. Speak of the devil, and he shall appear. There's Jeffrey Augustine, and he wants to know, did the cult ever use your musical talent? But I think you were already gone by then, weren't you?
I was not seen as, I don't think I was seen as any sort of commodity to them. I was just a thorn in the, you know, they didn't like me. They didn't want to use me. If I wasn't going to just be a good worker bee, they just would rather I go away.
Right.
But I wouldn't go away.
So how did you end up on the Opie and Andy podcast?
Opie and Anthony. Oy vey. All right. So I was living in Washington Square Park, literally trying to drink myself to death, like Nicolas Cage in that movie.
Right.
Just not as intense as Nicolas Cage, because nobody does anything as intense as Nicolas Cage does it.
Was that Down and Out in Beverly Hills? I mean,
no, it's that's a great movie too, but no, it's Leaving Las Vegas.
There you go.
It's him, Elizabeth Shue. Yep. Down and Out is Richard Dreyfuss, Bette Midler, and Nick Nolte. Sorry, I'm a movie fan. I'm a cinephile. I know a lot of movies. What were we asking? Oh, Opie and Anthony. So I was living in that park, and so one night I got arrested, drunk and disorderly, and well, that's one of the things about being home. Okay, John, I have to say something to you. Because I realized as I was thinking about this, you know, we set up this conversation. I realized at some point, in the spirit of full disclosure, John, I feel like I should tell you I hate cops.
That's all right. You ain't even gotta like me. It don't matter. So.
No, you're great, John. That's why I feel like I can make this joke.
Okay.
But I've had a lot of bad experiences with the cops, and particularly as a homeless person.
And I worked my ass off trying to right for the wrongs of so many that came before me, but there's just so many idiots and everything. Sometimes you just can't do anything about it. So,
and I feel, like the body cam, like I was watching your feed the other day, and the guy in the hospital in the ceiling, I'm rooting for him. The guy stretching, he's the guy that took off and then ran back around and got in his own car, and I was like, yes. Go.
When I saw those college cops doing that stuff, I was just like, are you kidding me? Well, you heard my reaction.
The Keystone cops. I love how you noticed him stretching in the background before he
I'm watching, like, my man's warming up. Y'all ain't seeing this?
And I've totally seen that. Exact thing happen. And you're like, he's about to take off, and boom, Usain Bolt out of there. So funny.
Oh my gosh.
That
those guys
so
wearing them daggone dress shoes and all
and
that.
And then they chase after him, leaving the car unattended.
Yeah.
So,
left it running. And no one there. Well, there was one guy, but apparently he was playing Sudoku or whatever on his phone and didn't realize the guy had come back and took his own car.
They left the guy behind, but he didn't pay attention.
My goodness. Amber says one of her favorite things was hanging out with you, making friendship bracelets and listening to music.
I remember lanyards. We used to do the lanyards with the plastic strings, the keychain
Mhm.
lanyards. We used to make a lot of those too. Yeah, we were geeky children, not for nothing.
Hey, yeah, Doug's got it right. I think I lost brain cells watching those videos that night. My gosh, that you talk about shame. Oh, my goodness.
Well, what about like what if a cop loses his gun? Is that like the worst thing you can do?
I've seen it more times than you'd ever know.
It seems
More
like
times.
there's a
It
one.
all depends on the department and how well they are with their department. I've seen guys literally lose guns that end up involved in armed robberies, things like that, and never get in a bit of trouble for it. One guy passed out in the men's room of a bar, and his duty weapon fell out on the floor. Someone picked it up and used it to hold up a convenience store, and he never got in any trouble for it.
Nothing.
No.
Damn.
You're talking when I came in was 92 when I started in law enforcement, and most of those guys that I was working with had either come in during the 60s or the early 70s. They were all back in the old school kind of old boy network system there, where if they all got, I went to see a Jethro Tull concert with my lieutenant, my
sitting in a
sergeant.
park bench.
Well, oh yeah. And so they're like, hey, we're going to see Jethro Tull. You want to? I'm like, yeah, I'm there. And so we get there, and it was what I thought it was going to be. It was a great show, but the herbal smell was really strong. And I realized, because my sergeant elbows me like this, I turn and look, and he's trying to hand me the spliff. And I'm like,
the sergeant.
It was illegal at that time, and I'm just like,
that's a different kind of
po
world.
We get back, when I got back to work, I'm talking to someone else in the department, and I'm like, what the and they're like, yeah, we all know those guys do that.
But you need the guys, you need the bodies, probably.
Yeah, it was crazy. All those guys lived in town, so they were all politically connected. They all had something, on some politicians. So those guys all had protected careers. They just did, they showed up. We had one lieutenant who literally would come in with a thermos, and that thermos was filled with vodka. And by the end of his shift, that thermos would be empty. I didn't even know it. This guy was such a functioning alcoholic. I didn't know he was sitting there drinking till one day I'm sitting there and his thermos is there, and I opened it up and I was like, what the? And sure enough, that's what it was. And this guy, he retired out probably about a month later, but I was just amazed.
Well, what happens if somebody does something fucked up in the line of duty while they're intoxicated, though? I mean, that seems like.
Well, he was on desk. He
was on
never
desk,
was on. He was the command officer, and our command officers sat desk and did dispatch. So,
all right, I guess. All right. I don't know. I have such issues with some of the cops that I've been around, and
well, and New York has its own issues with its officers as well.
Well, that's what I was getting at. Was okay. So at this time, this is Bloomberg as the mayor, and Bloomberg as mayor promised to reduce the visibility of homelessness in New York City. He did not promise to reduce homelessness, just its visibility. You understand? Right. So there was a lot of harassment going on. There was a lot of just trying to round people up and get them off the streets at certain times of the day or certain times of the year. There's a lot of running people through the system, getting arrested for no other reason than you're sitting on the sidewalk. I got arrested for sitting on the sidewalk, for blocking pedestrian traffic. You can get right. They can't make it illegal. They just make it against the law. All the incidentals of being homeless, like you can't lay down on a park bench, you can't stay seated for too long. If you have stuff with you, that's camping, so on and so forth. So you're always getting harassed and told to move on, that kind of thing. And usually I would, because I was living in the park and I didn't really want to cause any trouble with the NYU people. But I had been sitting I was waiting for somebody, a student, NYU student, who was upstairs copping some weed off a friend of mine, or he was copping weed off of him. I forget. Somebody was buying something from somebody, one or the other. I forget which way the exchange was being made. But either way, because of my friend who was with the student upstairs, the three of us had just bottled a big bottle of rum. And then they went upstairs to do whatever they were doing. And so I'm waiting downstairs, and the NYU guy has a fuck off. And I'm like, no, I'm tanked. And also, I'm waiting for somebody who lives here. So you fuck off. So I didn't want to fuck off. And so I got arrested. I don't know exactly what happened because I blacked out a certain segment of this. The next thing I remember is being escorted into the 6th precinct. Yeah, towards the end, I was a real bad blackout drinker, John. You have no idea. A literal stinking drunken bum for real. The kind of disgusting creature you would have crossed the street to avoid having to pass on the sidewalk. That's who I was. Anyway, they take me into the 6th precinct where I had gotten to know people. They knew me by name. Hey, Mustard. And they took me out in a little side office, which I was really sketchy about because there was this story about this guy in Queens where some cops had shoved a plunger up his ass in a little side office. So I was a little worried about
that. Yeah.
Right? And that was right about the same time. And so we're having a little side office. I meet a guy called Keith the cop. And I really would actually love to talk to him. It would be so funny to hear his perspective now after all this time. But Keith the cop had a relationship with Opie and Anthony. And Opie and Anthony were doing what they call a homeless shopping spree, exploitative humor, making fun of homeless people and shopkeepers freaking out about homeless people being in their stores and right before Christmas, yada, yada.
Wow.
And so so Keith the cop is bringing homeless guys onto the show to be interviewed so that the listening audience is a little more invested in the bit when it happens. And it was really funny because Patrice O'Neal, the comedian, was there. And there was another comedian there too. And they were,
Patrice.
Yeah, Patrice was great. And he was really, really like mad cool. That guy was mad cool. And he was so disappointed that we weren't crazy. Like, it was so funny how he's like, where are the crazies? Because it was me and this guy called Joe, who I didn't know. They assumed we knew each other, but we didn't. And Joe is just very nice, normal, soft-spoken guy, just never really got his life started more than anything else, got into trouble, some drugs and some criminality and yada, yada. It's a very common story. And then I come on and I'm making jokes about cardboard and they're like, these aren't crazy people. We want crazy people pulling their hair. And I was like, I'll get crazy for you if you want. Anyway, what was it? So Keith the cop, so he brings the people on, yada, yada. What was it? So I got arrested. That was it. He said, we can forego central booking, we won't send you downtown. If you meet me in the morning to go on this show. And so he gave me half a $20 bill. Like, he didn't trust me. He had to bribe me with half a $20. I'll give you the other half when I see you in the morning. And we went up there and we did the thing. And I had no real idea of what that was or what it would be. Certainly, I was just there in the moment. And that was the other part of it, was because I had drank the rum with Miguel earlier. I still had my wake up bottle. I still had a full bottle of vodka at 6 a.m, which normally I wouldn't have had. So I was really tanked that morning too. That's the other thing.
Wow.
If you watch the footage, you see there's a bottle of Tropicana orange juice on the seat next to me. There's some orange juice in there. And the other thing that's kind of miraculous about it is it wasn't a song I sang. There was a whole set of covers that I used to do in the park for 2 years. 2 summers I've been singing these songs. And in that moment, I sang a song of mine. And then immediately they want to hear a cover. That's this thing that people always, let me hear a cover. They want to compare what you sound like to what you sound like to whatever else something they recognize. And I couldn't think of any of those songs. There's a whole bunch of really popular pop songs, and I couldn't think of any of them. And that was the only song that came to mind was Creep.
Isn't that about how it works, though?
I guess so. That's what's kind of weird about it. It's like that's and it's weird because it falls into the magical thinking that you're raised on, and it's not necessarily something I want to believe too much in, but that certainly did seem like some magic happening there, because it was just such a series of unlikely events, and it just never should have happened.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, to realize the kind of audience that you draw, you got people from Australia, from New Zealand, from the UK. My buddy Dave from Thailand has been in here watching, and now my friend Verna from the Philippines are here. So you've got people from all over the world.
And Russia, I'm very popular in Russia. I don't know why.
I don't know. We did have someone that was from Russia that was coming in, but and yeah, a lot of good that does you at this point. It's not like there's a lot of good.
My fan base is not local.
Yeah.
I did shows in New York City. Nobody showed up. There was one guy from Jersey that came, like one guy who was like there. And then there was one dude who drove up from Tennessee, I think, or something. There was one guy that did come from out of state, but like it was never more than like 3 people in any of my audiences, even
Well,
after the Opie and Anthony thing.
just need to promote it right. We can get you there. I did that stuff for a long time. I was you were talking about forgetting stuff, and one of my favorite things to say is it's like I can't remember why I went to the kitchen, but I can tell you the lyrics to a song from the 70s. So
Right. Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I can tell you my childhood phone number, but I can't tell you, what I did.
There you go. Yeah, I can remember that. Yeah.
323-462-2402. All right.
867-5309.
875-309. We used to give that number out to people sometimes.
You know what's hilarious is my wife, born and
I
raised.
love the Jimmy Brothers. Sorry. Yes.
Oh yeah, my wife, born and raised here in literally Detroit, and she loves country music. Now I should be the one who should be a huge country music fan, but I'm a huge fan of things like metal and alternative and stuff like that. It was nothing for me to be at. I've seen the Misfits, Black Flag, the Ramones, Susie and the Banshees. Those things were all things that was my styling of music when I was a teenager. And I'll never forget, first metal song I ever heard was Kiss, and I was a huge fan of theirs.
Is Kiss metal?
They're hard rock metal. At that time, they would be more metal because the sound. You know how it's evolved over the time.
I mean, metal today is a whole nother. I think it's a whole nother creature. Yeah. What we used to call like industrial or something.
Yeah, Lamb of God is considered light metal nowadays. So.
No, my favorite band in high school was Pearl Jam. Definitely, I was obsessed. I love Pearl Jam, but I also really loved like Amy Mann and Ani DeFranco and even George Michael. Like I liked a lot of weird things that weren't necessarily popular. Like George Michael was a secret. I couldn't tell nobody I liked him.
I mean, here it is. I was a big fan of Duran Duran.
Yeah, Duran Duran are great. I don't love Duran Duran, but I get it. Yeah, the same thing, similar thing.
They got a couple songs. It's like I have a real special place for Hall & Oates. I love Hall & Oates.
Yeah, Hall & Oates were kind of underrated for a long time. Because it's great. It's great old fashioned
from New York. I know what you're doing. I was telling Chad. Chad goes, "They're great." I go, "Do you like them because they're from New York?" I know what you're doing.
No, Hall & Oates get underrated because it's the style in that sort of like 80s synth music, but their songs are actually like really classic R&B music. So it's like, so we get to rediscover that in a way.
Yeah, they had that real deep R&B root in their music that a lot of people didn't know. When I saw them live, they had their opening acts were all R&B acts, and they definitely identify as R&B, even if we didn't see them that way. That's how they saw themselves. I could hear it from even back in the day because I'd been a big fan of like Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles, and so I could hear the R&B in their styling and everything. So I knew where that was coming from. And a lot of people would just think of them as the pop band from the 80s. And
I can't go for that. No, no can do. I really like Etta James and Otis Redding. Those are my like soul parents.
Nina Simone.
Nina Simone's bro. Yeah. Nina Simone. Yeah. She did a lot of Beatles covers.
But feeling good. What is it? Feeling Fine, I think it is. That's that Nina Simone song there. That one that kills me. That's
Nina. Yeah, Nina was a voice. Definitely a voice. Singular voice.
Well, it's like you listen to my son loves jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Here it is. He's got a dad that's a metalhead, a mom who's a converted country girl. And he loves jazz. So
what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong
with it. It's just that just shows you how it works out. I mean, it's you can like whatever you like, but I mean, for all that my father ever gave me, the love of Johnny Cash was probably the best thing he ever gave me. I growing up listening to Johnny Cash playing on the record player. And man, that just got me. And then for some reason, and I think it was my grandmother, I developed a passion for bluegrass. And
That's
You know,
interesting. That's cool.
I actually, do you remember the name Bill Monroe?
Say again.
You remember the name Bill Monroe?
Mm.
He was the godfather of bluegrass music. He was pretty much the guy that brought bluegrass into the mainstay.
Oh.
And it had always been, you know, Appalachian picking and grinning.
Yeah.
And
Picking and grinning.
yeah, he's the one who made it big and popular. And it was just, you know, the realization of that. And then I was at my grandmother's funeral, and this guy walks in, and he is dressed in head to toe in tan suede jacket, pants, boots, cowboy hat, tie. I'm looking at him. I look at my mom and I go, "Who is that?" She's like, "Honey, you don't know who that is?" I go, "No." And she goes, "That's Bill Monroe." I didn't know it, but he had known my grandmother for decades. She used to work at a little diner in Kentucky, and he used to, every time he was in town, he'd go there and eat. And when they moved up into Southern Ohio, she started working at a diner there. He went in one day. He was playing one of the county fairs. Came in, sat down, ordered some biscuits and gravy. He looked at the waitress and he goes, "Mally work here?" And she's like, "How'd you know that was?" He goes, "I know them biscuits and gravy anywhere." And I didn't know it, but he knew my grandmother. It was,
he knew her biscuits.
yeah, they were friends.
That's cool.
After
That's
the
really
funeral,
cool.
he says, anytime I'm around, you want to come say hi, just tell him that you're Mally's grandson. And sure enough, a couple years later, he was playing the county fair. I showed up backstage, big old pipe bending hillbilly behind the stage back there. "What do you want, boy?" "I'm here to see Mr. Monroe, sir." He goes, "That ain't happening." I go, "Can you tell him Mally's grandson's here?" "All right, hold on a second." He comes back and he goes, "Mr.
Magic
Monroe,
words. That's nice. That's like a secret passcode. That's nice.
But, yeah, it was just, you know, amazing stuff like that. You know, so my love of music goes, it's almost like a spider's web. There's so many different links out on it. And, you know, like I said,
Well, music is solace for me. You know, it's like, as you know, like there was a lot of alone time as a child, and that's kind of what I did, was listen to a lot of music. And I had teenage sisters in the house, so there was a lot of music to listen to, you know.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that, you know, if there's one thing that actually touches us to the heart and to our core, it's music. I think that we connect on such a level with music, no matter what kind it is you're listening to. But everybody has that one song that just takes them back, has that one song that'll put a tear in their eye, one song that the minute they hear it, they're so happy they can't stop smiling. And I think that that's the importance of music, is that it touches us all in one way or another. And it's very important.
Yeah, it is. Yep. I hope. You know, it's a very universally human thing too. Everybody makes music, every culture throughout history. People all, just from beating on a drum or gutturally singing or whatever.
Oh yeah. You know, I mean, I've been in Mongolia and heard throat singers. You know,
yep.
I've been all over the world and heard all the different kinds of music. It's just, it's universal to human beings, is that music touches you.
It's an impressive thing, I guess. It's a weird thing. I don't know. It's a weird thing.
It's simplistic, but it's the most diverse thing in the world. And I think that there's a beauty in it that we recognize, but don't recognize at the same time. You know, and you think about that every time that you're singing and, you know, that one person stops and you can feel that connection, is because there's a true connection between the music that you're putting out and something in that person's life.
Let me say something about that, because that's a thing that really fucks with my head sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't, or I'm coming to understand, but I for a long time did not understand that I was doing something worthy of something. And then it was the park, and it was particularly NYU kids, girls, young girls, weeping. Do you know what I'm saying? 18-year-old girls weeping.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a bizarre effect to create in people. And particularly, you know, that's, you know, that is the Scientology line, but the idea is that that's the artist's job, is to create effects in the universe. And it's it was at first a real weird head trip to be like, well, this is what I'm doing. I'm making people cry. And thinking that was a bad thing. Like that's the way, like I was being interpolated, like I was doing something bad to these people. The other day somebody cried on one of these streams with Amber Vanassi, and Amber was so apologetic. She was so sorry that she thought she'd made this Natalie cry. And even after the conversation, she was still apologizing. It's like, no, it's good. It's good. It was a good cathartic cry. That's a good cry. But we don't know that. We didn't learn that. So like it was a really weird thing to make people cry.
You say that you know, doing those live shows, you didn't have people showing up, but I think that your real audience is right there in the park that hear you and see you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not even realizing it. You know, and Hazel B says your cover of Creep was unbelievable. I couldn't believe you weren't famous when I saw you on the Opie and Anthony show video many years ago. I watched it so many times over the years. You're incredibly talented.
Thank you, Hazel. That's hard for me, but thank you.
And anybody folks want to know if you have new music coming out, when they can expect it.
I've been writing music. I write compulsively. I write all the time. I'm constantly writing music. I don't have like the tools to properly record, although I'm trying to. There's stuff on my YouTube channel,
right?
But I got better, newer things.
Do you
I just want to get it together.
Do you have like an Amazon wish list?
No.
I'm going to help you set one up.
Okay.
And after this, I'm going to talk to you about how to set it up and everything. And then you can put that out there like on your YouTube channel and on like your social media posts. And you don't have to spend $1 billion on the equipment. But the thing is that you can get decent equipment to record your music. And there are a lot of people who would be more than happy to help contribute to get that equipment. I
have a hard time asking for help, and I have an even harder time asking for money. You know, like
I'll do it for you. So I know exactly.
See, this is why everyone wants you to be their dad, John. This is why.
That's the thing is I understand, because that's exactly how I feel. I hate asking for that stuff, or I hate asking for help.
Well, I mean that you immediately volunteer to help. Like that's to me is very impressive, because that's not the world I come from. I come from a world where people are going, you figure it out and let us know when you're done.
Well, the way I look at it is I'm going to give you the tools to do it and let you run with it. And I think that by showing you how to do it and letting you do it yourself and realize you've got it in you is more important than doing it for you. You know, and that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can do it, let you go ahead and set it up, let you do your own thing. You know what equipment you want, you know what equipment you need, things like that. But I'm going to try to give you the tools to help get there. So, well,
I've got I'm so good.
You know, probably a decent laptop,
I have the laptop. I do have a laptop. I do have a nice new laptop.
Yeah, but wait till you start putting those music programs on there.
Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, you know, just a simple microphone like this Rode Pod mic, it's $100, and you see the quality of sound that comes out of it. So things like that, it's very easy, and well, not easy. It's there, and it doesn't have to cost a bank.
You know, you're right, and a lot of this is easy. And some of it is not as easy as I think some people think it is. It's certainly not for me. I definitely have a tech phobia or something, because I look at this stuff, like I've been through trying to use some of these programs, and I figured out Bandcamp in a very basic sense, but like I don't even know how to like loop a thing or that kind of stuff, and I don't know how to play notes.
Here's what's great is on any program or any of the equipment or anything like that, there's going to be 1,000 YouTube tutorials, and one of them is going to tell you how to do it, and it's going to speak it in your language that is going to make it so easy for you. I'm not tech savvy. A lot of people think I am. I can play videos on YouTube. I can do my channel, but I'm not tech savvy. I use a program called HitFilm Express for all of my recorded content and edited content. I had to watch hours of tutorials just to learn how to use that stuff. And then finally I found the one tutorial that literally is like there it is. Okay, now I know what I'm doing.
Okay.
And
All right,
that's
that's
the-
good
that's
because
the-
I've looked at some of those things too, and and it's not hitting. So I hear what you're saying. Though. It's just
Yep,
trying.
but they're there. You just, you'll know within a few minutes of watching one of these videos whether or not it's going to help you or not. And then you'll hit that one, and it's just going to be like that light goes on, and you're there, and you know what's going on. They explain it in your terms, and it isn't a flap, so you're good to go. So, and I don't have to do a KR on you.
Fuck you. Oh no. Oh god. You were talking about this the other day about how you got in trouble just for not being super excited. Like if it was like take out the garbage, it was like okay, you had to be like, you know what I mean? Like it was just
Can I really?
Yeah. Oh, I get to participate. Oh yeah.
Oh,
The VGIs, that's what it was called. And I never had very good indicators. So yeah, it was always.
I was always one of those. I always, even to this day, I sit in the back of the room. I get more out of watching everybody else and their reactions to things than jumping up and being a huge part of it. So, a lot of people are surprised when they meet me that I'm actually a very quiet, reserved person. You've got to talk when you have a YouTube channel. You've got to keep the conversation going. But for the most part, I would rather learn about everybody else than talk about myself.
And that's why this is a good thing for you. That's the intellectual curiosity. That's what it takes, I think.
And that's the thing. I truly am curious.
Right.
When
there's something an acting teacher of mine used to say, which is when people were concerned about how I want to be more interesting. Am I interesting enough? And he used to say, don't be interesting, be interested. The more interested you are. Yeah. And that's what you're talking about. You're interested. And that's more interesting than being interesting.
And I hear people talking all the time. Oh man, you were a cop. You did this, you done that. It's got to be, you know what? Everybody's got their own life story. Everybody's got their own narrative. And, don't think that, yours is any less interesting than mine. I want to hear about people's lives. I want to hear about, how did you grow up? What do you like? What do you not like? And then I always find just the human psyche to me is just amazing, and how diverse everybody is. You can have people from the same family, brothers and sisters, even twins, so completely different from each other, have completely different likes and dislikes.
I have twin cousins who are exactly what you're talking about. They are polar opposites. They're identical twins, but they are nothing alike.
You look at my son. My son is 6'7", 325 pounds. He's a walking mountain. Then you look at my daughter, 5'3", and my daughter is the more dangerous one by any stretch of the imagination. My son is a he's just a big old cuddly teddy bear. My daughter, she's her daddy's daughter, that's for sure. So there's no fear in her game. And it's just amazing that they're twins, but yet they're so different. And
they are twins. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they're twins.
I didn't realize they're twins. Oh, that's even here.
And you could tell there's that connection between the two of them that is no one will ever understand. And
did they speak in their own little language when they were kids?
Well, my son is on the spectrum, and my daughter connects with him in ways that no one ever will.
Oh, that's fascinating.
He understands him. And my son, he understands his sister, and he respects his sister more than anybody will ever understand there. So,
that's awesome. That's awesome. That sounds to me like they're really lucky to have each other, as well as lucky to have you.
They're good people. And
Chad agrees.
And Chad, haircut.
Yeah, I got a haircut, Bo.
About time.
Right. I know.
Yeah. Yeah, it was looking like a bush fell on top of his head there for a while. So, yeah, I was expecting that lightning bolt scar to show up because your hair was always looking like that. So, if any Harry Potter fans.
Is that a Harry Potter reference?
Yeah.
That was the first, when I found out I had gone viral after I left ONA, like 3 days later. I didn't even think about it.
Wow.
And I was on Broadway, and some kid who looked just like Harry Potter. He had the glasses and the hair and the scarf. I guess maybe he was dressed up to look like Harry Potter. I'm not sure. I don't know that much about Harry Potter. I'm a Gandalf guy. Dumbledore's all right, but I'm a Gandalf guy. But that was how I found out. I was like, I went to bum a cigarette off this kid, and he was like, "Mustard, you're mustard."
Oh, wow.
and I'm like, "Oh shit, it's Osa. Like, who are you? Why do you know who I am?" You have no idea. The first half a dozen times I was recognized in New York City, I totally was like, "Oh shit, they're after me." And there were some Scientologists that came after me. I totally forgot about. There was a guy that my mother had sent looking for me in the park, and Stephanie Solomon. Ooh, I wonder what happened to her. She came looking for me.
Wow.
But they didn't mean it. You know, they got there and they went, "Oh no, he's actually a bum. It's not a joke." And they went, "Oh, never mind," and walked away. My sister liked to tell people I was having adventures. He's off having adventures in New York City. You fucking psychopath. That's fucking psychotic.
Tell me you weren't having adventures, though. I mean,
yeah.
it's,
No, the adventures were having me. All right, that's the difference.
Well, there you go. One way or another, it got done.
One way or another.
So, are you going to sing for us tonight?
Oh, I guess so. I have to sing.
You
I have to
guess?
sing for my supper. I hate this, John. I hate it so much. Or as I said the other day, I hate this. No, I don't. I hate it. Yes, I do. No, I don't.
Well, here's the first thing you got to remember with this is everybody's here for you, and you got nothing but support out here.
I'm the only critic. I know that. Like, I don't even know what people, I don't even know what criticisms there are that actually anybody actually says other than my guitar playing. Guitar players don't like my guitar playing. I know that. But other than that, I'm my own
guitar.
I don't start on the one.
Oh.
I thought wherever I start is the one.
Well, you know, I remember a guy who played drums differently than everybody else did and ended up being the drummer for one of the greatest bands in history, Led Zeppelin, by the name of John Bonham.
Oh, I've heard of him. Well,
you know, that's the
John
thing.
Bonham, Ringo Starr, Dave Grohl. There's only a few drummers who are like given credit for like starting something, right? But and that's usually how it works, right? You did something unusual, but those people tend to know what they were doing to begin with, and I don't even know that much. I'm still I'm still just faking it.
You look back at how many great guitarists, drummers, bassists, whatever, that had no training. They just picked up and learned how to play on their own.
Well, particularly in punk music. That's kind of the concept.
Yeah. But you know what? Here's the thing is that it's your art. Who cares what guitarists say? I used to play guitar. You see, I make guitars.
Okay. You made those. All right.
Yeah. So I don't, I don't care how other people do it. What I care about is it something that I enjoy? Is it something I'm proud of?
Oh, yeah. No, I enjoy it. I'm proud of. But what I would like someday is to hear what these songs are supposed to sound like. Because I don't play them right. If that makes sense.
The way that
in my head, I can hear them in a certain way.
Yeah.
And I'd like to figure out how to do that, how to get it from here to here.
But the thing is the way you play them is your way. That's your art, and that's the way it's supposed to be played. And stop worrying. Don't worry about the rest of the people.
I don't worry about it. I would just like to hear it once.
Well, that's the beauty of you two.
I gotta say, and I appreciate you saying what you're saying because you're being encouraging and you're being supportive, and I appreciate that. I only mentioned what I don't even know the criticisms are. So other than that, that's the only thing I get is from guitar players to kind of snicker at me a little bit. But nobody will ever tell me, nobody wants to give me an advice though. So I don't know. So I just don't, the point is I don't really know what I'm doing, but that's okay, right? That's okay.
Absolutely. This is, if one thing you'll ever learn from this channel, this is the safest place you can be because everybody here is here for you and they're going to support you and love you no matter what.
No, I appreciate that. I think it was Indigo Twin was on about that a second ago.
Oh, yeah.
Support.
Yeah, there you go.
And it's great, it's a twisted thing because this community, lack of community, in homelessness, that the conversations you have with mental health professionals when you're coming out of that situation is almost always, it's about that. It's about where were your family? What were your support networks? You didn't have them. Oh, I see. That is the consistent through line. So it's That's hard. That's a hard one. Nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. Everybody's just making it up as they go along.
Yeah.
All right, let's just do this. I see. That's not even. All right. Can you hear the guitar?
Yeah.
Yep.
Standing over the edge, wondering when the razors got so sharp. Handing over your head, hoping the rest will disconnect your heart. When it's all my fault, I know you're eager to report what went wrong right from the start. Giving it over to the morning, offering no warning to the moon or the stars. Be it you, be it me, be it as lonely as it's long, be it as unfamiliar as the road less traveled on. As the road less traveled on. In no way to take forever, given the measure of what might have been. Taking nothing for pleasure, granted we never needed to just fit right in. And that ain't no one's fault, obligated on us to drift out this far. If your greatest endeavor is to suffer and sever, keep us apart. Be it you, be it me, be it only as lonely as it's long. Be it as unfamiliar as the road less traveled on. Be it you, be it me, be it as lonely as is long, be it only as unfamiliar as the road less traveled on. As unfamiliar as the road less traveled on. Something like that.
Now, see, here's the thing. You can feel the soul in that.
Yeah. Well,
You
yeah.
can feel it. That, you know, it's like we were talking about earlier, where they just punch out a bunch of pop songs because they sound like something that was popular. There's soul to that.
Flea Factory. I went to The Voice. I did the fucking thing. I got this close. I'm sorry. The Voice called me. Those motherfuckers called me because of the Opie and Anthony thing. They flew me out to Burbank. You're not supposed to talk about it. There's a whole process. You're supposed to pretend like people just show up and like sing to the back of those chairs. But that's not what happens. It's a whole process to getting people up on that stage before they ever sing to those chairs. And yeah, no, I fucked up because they flew me out to LA and we were staying in a hotel in Burbank. And I had been living on the streets for 6 years at that point. And the air conditioning, just being in the air conditioning for 3 days totally fucked up my voice. And by the time it was my turn to sing, I could barely fucking sing.
Wow.
Isn't that funny? Never even considered it, never thought about it. Air conditioning.
We got to do something to start getting people to hear who Daniel Mustard is.
I got a groove. I got a tone or something, right? People talk about that. There's a sort of a, I don't know what it is. Somebody recently described my music as a warm hug. So I don't know. That's a good thing, right?
I can feel it. Chad, what did you think?
Yeah, it was very good. Like you said, it was very original and very like nothing I ever heard. Yeah.
Be it you, be it me. And it's sort of like folk punk blues. Like that's I think like, cause I'm kind of, it's acoustic and it's not really, I don't really know what I'm doing, but then I have this bluesy singing voice that doesn't really match with the style that I'm thinking in.
Well,
like it's Violent Femmes meets Otis Redding. That's my idea. Does that make sense?
There you go. That's awesome.
Like imagine Otis Redding singing Violent Femmes songs. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
my goodness.
That's what I'd like to go to.
There you go. But I mean, look at like what's his name? Teddy Swim, I think it is, or Teddy.
The only Teddy I know is Pendergrass.
He from New York, was homeless at one point himself, and he came out and he did a cover of a song. And next thing you know, he's huge. So we just gotta, I think you have just as much soul to your voice, and you have the talent there. We just got to find a way to get you to the people.
It's got to put it in a bottle. Put it in a bottle, put it on a shelf.
So,
nice purple and gold label.
You need to get your butts over. You need to check out Daniel's Daniel's YouTube page.
Oh yeah,
and get over there and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm already subscribed.
That's really nice. There's a little cover there of Songbird from Fleetwood Mac. That's lovely. Ooh, that's worth listening to. I recorded that for Liz Ferris, but I don't even know if she heard it.
I don't know.
She was in the hospital.
Yeah. Let's see. And that's the thing is, I mean, you give me a bucket, I still can't carry a tune, but I know what I like, and I like hearing you sing. So that's the thing. You look at when I pull it up, I mean, most of all of your videos have that red line at the bottom because I've watched them. So, and if I didn't like it, I wouldn't have watched any more than the first one. I think you have a great voice, and you need to, we need to make sure that people know who you are and hear that voice. So,
hear my voice. I got a voice. You know what also creeps me out? I was thinking about today that kind of weirds me out is like the way that you kind of like build celebrity in the world today is online, and it's sort of a cult of personality.
Oh yeah.
Like people get kind of obsessed with artists. We have like the Little Monsters and the Believers and stuff like that. And that freaks me out. That freaks me out because I was born in a cult.
Yeah, there you go. But the thing is that it's also nowadays some of the people who make it, who become the stars, are the people who don't fit the bill of normality. It's the folks that you wouldn't in the 80s and 90s would have never gotten a chance. But nowadays everybody is more open and accepting. So that's the awesome thing about it is that you could literally, you don't have to look like that pop singer. You don't have to look like, what's his name? The guy who played Thor or something like that.
Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth. There you go.
One of the Chris's.
I think he's an awesome guy. You don't have to look like that. You don't have to be the most beautiful.
No. And certainly that's like, I think that's always been like kind of the thing about musicians is that's always been something I've leaned on. Like musicians don't have to be beautiful.
I can't play a radio without static, carry a tune in a bucket, but I have a great ear to listen to good music. There you go. And that's the thing is that we don't need talented people. What we need is people who listen and hear your voice and like it. That's the big thing. Here we go. Sakura Bear. I'm in New York City, and if I know about you doing a show, I will be there.
All right. I'm holding you to that.
And I'm sorry if I butchered your name. I didn't mean to.
No, I don't know. Sakura Bear.
Let's see.
CC. Mustard seeds. I relish the humor. Ketchup.
I've been homeless since escaping Hollywood. COS 17 years now, and haven't learned to sing. I've learned to love it. There you go.
Learn to love. Is that what?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, it's here. Sorry. Yeah. Learning to sing.
Not everybody's going to be a singer. Not everybody's going to be an artist. We all have our talents in one way or another. And I think, that's interesting. So, Doug says you remind him of the Zac Brown band.
Oh, I don't know that I know Zac Brown.
Oh, he's a pseudo folksy country singer. So
Yeah, there's a lot of crossover, country and folk and blues, and they're all very related.
well, I mean, when you start looking at the true legends of country, there's so much soul in what they're doing. And I don't think a lot of
and
people
not for
realize that.
nothing, like if we're talking about like cultural, racial lines, that's one of those places where musicians don't give a shit. You know, like very often that's a part of what makes. In fact, historically, people like dictators have always warned against the artists because artists travel in different kinds of groups and don't necessarily respect these sort of like social norms and stuff. So like that in particular, you talk about like the music developed in the American South between Appalachian Mountains and Africans and all the different kind of things that were going on there. It's really quite amazing. And
something I found was really interesting was in doing research about, my roots in Appalachia, I came across the statement that listening to people who live in Appalachia now is the closest you will come to Shakespearean language.
Yeah. But yeah, that's an interesting thing because the way that we talk, the American accent is like, it's backwards or something. Like the way that the posh people now talk is not really how they used to talk, and how Appalachian or something. I forget. I do have some idea what you're talking about, but I don't know. It's all been kind of lost.
And Doug, what was the first song they got famous for? I can't stand that chicken fried song. Are you on TikTok? Daniel?
Myself, no. TikTok's getting banned allegedly.
We'll see. There's too much money there.
No, TikTok is aggravating. Every time I see TikTok, I walk away annoyed and aggravated because it seems like everything I see on it is just people being annoyed and aggravated.
Well, you know who Luke Combs is?
No.
Country singer, Lord. big old boy, country singer, nothing like what you'd expect for a country singer, is now selling out stadiums, and he started off on TikTok doing covers.
Yeah. That's what I should be doing. Is I should just be pumping out the covers. I should just do a cover every week.
Well, you do covers and then you throw your own in there, and eventually they start melding together to where people, they're wanting to hear your stuff just as much. They come in to hear the voice, and then they start listening to what you're putting out, and that's how it takes off. So I think you got it. I've been listening to your shit, man. I know I know about the Daniel Mustard music.
I don't know. I just feel like such a dangling kind of idiot hanging from a rope or something. I don't know. I don't know what's supposed to happen. And I get wary of anybody like making guarantees or like promises because I don't know. That's just like nobody knows. Nobody knows what happens.
Well, that's why I say, I'll give you the tools. You make it happen.
Right.
I mean, ask Chad. One of my big things is like there's a lot of folks who had smaller channels. I love helping them. I want to see people grow. I want to see people succeed. And that's, Chad and I have become good friends. And I love the fact that he's constantly paying it forward. He's helping the other channels too. So, and if you want to see some funny stuff, you got to check out some of his content. He's got some hilarious stuff out there.
All right. He's quiet on you, but I guess you remind me of Andy Richter.
And he knows exactly. He when he first started, he was doing who was it you were doing, what's his name, the Man in the Moon guy?
Oh, Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, he was doing, he was playing off of an Andy Kaufman character in a lot of his parodies when he first started, and a lot of people really thought he was Osa when he first came into the community.
So funny. That's so funny. That would be hilarious. Like, like Stephen Colbert did that character on the Colbert Report for years where he played the conservative pundit. That would be hilarious to have somebody to like play out like being like some fucking.
I had people send emails wanting to get me out of Scientology because my character was a Scientologist,
Yep.
That's great. Rescue me. That's so funny.
To this day, I still get people saying you can't trust him. He's Osa.
That's not funny, John. That's not funny. Don't joke like that. Don't joke like that. He could be. You don't know. Look, there's a new janitor. There's a new custodian. Where I live, there's these 4 different buildings, and they run all these buildings in the whole block. And there's a new custodian, and he's like, for whatever reason, being like keeps trying to talk to me. And and that's not particularly unusual, except that I have a bad reputation around here. Most of the neighbors don't like me, so they don't talk to me. So this guy's talking to me, and I'm totally like suspicious. I'm like, nah, this is he could totally be.
There's your plant. Yeah.
He just showed up.
Oh, I mean, I'm a smaller channel, and I still look around daily. And just today, I'm sure it was nothing. The guy was probably just texting on his phone, but I was mowing my lawn, and the guy stops his car in front of my driveway and just, was just there. I'm like, well, that's not great. But
he looked at you and he goes, Chris Shelton? Chad's been doing some parodies of Chris Shelton in there.
That's hilarious. I used to like Chris. He's I don't know. But it seems like he's turned into kind of an asshole. But I don't know. I'm not into this argument. There's this whole thing between the network and the foundation, and I'm trying really hard not to be on anybody's side. Although I think just by proxy of being Jamie's brother, I'm kind of screwed because he's, I think, very much taking sides. So.
Yeah, you're already PTS, so you.
Oh no, PTS for life, motherfucker! You have no idea.
So, all right, we are at 2 hours now. Daniel, do you have any closing thoughts for everybody?
Oh, damn you! I should have prepared. No, I have no closing thoughts. I am an empty vessel. I have no ideas about nothing. I have ideas about everything. I just don't know what to say when you say that.
Part of my job. Is put you on the spot. So
no, I'm just
my 2 for 2 on the Mustard Brothers.
I'm sorry, I didn't really cry though. I thought I would. I was hoping I would cry about something. I was going to talk about all the times I've been beat up by cops. I was sure that was going to get me to cry, but we didn't get
that. That's just painful memories. That's not the same thing.
Oh God. I don't think Chris Shelton could take a joke. But Scientologists traditionally cannot. It's part of our problem.
Yeah, that's.
I'm lucky. I'm lucky. I survive with a sense of humor because a lot of people do not.
Well, the thing is that I'm going to repeat it again. You always have an open invitation here. Anytime you want to come on, absolutely. I'm actually going to do my first clip from one of my shows. I'm going to clip out the part with you singing there and put that out and put the link right to your channel. So
does it sound all right? Because I don't know. It's always the guitar kind of dips out in this mic, I think, because there's a noise reduction.
The guitar, your voice was carrying it. That was
that was not great. I could do better than that, to be honest.
I think he did awesome. What is everybody? I think he did awesome. Do you guys not think that he did a great job?
I know, but I know what it can be. I don't know, whatever that sounds.
Well, we are always our own worst critics, and that's the fact. So,
yeah, and doubly so, and triply so, and like in a compound fracture kind of way.
That's the thing is that I'm absolutely my worst critic in the world, and we always look at ourselves through a different kind of mirror than everyone else looks at us. So,
and I was given a really broken mirror, so.
Thank you. Look at that.
Listen to me all. You're awesome, Fat Granny.
There you go. I mean, Anaphylaxis says they could listen to you all day. That's
Anaphylaxis. That's a great name.
I know. I saw that and I was like, damn it, why didn't I get that one?
Right.
But that's how it is. Chad, do you have any partying thoughts for us?
Jono's nanny. Cece was Jono's nanny. Oh, Jono. I haven't seen Jono in so long.
Yeah. Just that it was an honor to be just to be here with Daniel Mustard and of course Poe on the Go. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Chad.
Anytime.
That's the thing. And folks, as always, I want this channel to be about opening your eyes. I want you to be entertained. I want you to learn. Seeing things through others' eyes, seeing it through others' experiences, that's what makes us grow as human beings. That what helps us build compassion and empathy is seeing how others have struggled. And it's important that we keep our eyes, we keep ourselves open, our hearts open, our eyes open, our ears open, and we realize that we're not the only people in this world. And the legacy that we leave through the way that we treat other people will far exceed anything else. And do you want it to be a legacy of being a horrible person, someone who didn't want anything to do with anyone else? Or do you want to be that person that when people think back, that was a good person, they helped me out, they gave me a kind word when I needed it? Those are the things that I want to instill more than anything. And I thank you all for sharing your time with us. As I always say it, you'll never get this time back. I hope it was valuable to you. And as always, folks, life is short. You get one shot. Make it count.